Welcome to The World Today on Channels Television. I am Amarachi Ubani. Let's take a look at the major stories around the world. The Syria crisis, which is now in its third year, has witnessed devastating effects of air bombardments on civilians. Hence, the city of Aleppo in particular is living in danger and in fear. Thousands of people have been killed or maimed in a campaign of aerial bombardments in northern Syria this year. Just outside, the emergency rescue team of the Civil Defense Force scoured through the rubble, and with little training and limited equipment from the international community, and that's Britain, their task is nothing short of dangerous. Whenever there is an attack on residential areas, they race in to search for survivors and to recover bodies. In the last year alone, 8 crew members have been killed as they brave bombs and bullets while attempting to rescue others. Keeping an eye on Syria there. Moving on to Ukraine now, the United States believes that Russia is not doing enough to quench the crisis in the country, but instead has added fuel to fire. Hence, it has imposed sanctions on 7 Russian individuals and 17 companies linked to President Vladimir Putin's inner circle. The White House said the move was a response to Russia's continued illegal intervention in Ukraine. Those targeted include Igor Sechin, head of oil giant Rosneft, and influential MP Alexei Pushkov. A move by the U.S. comes as a mayor of Kharkiv, a city in eastern Ukraine, was shot and critically wounded. Western nations accuse Moscow of supporting separatist gunmen who are occupying official buildings in cities across eastern Ukraine. The separatists continue to hold 7 Western military observers who were seized last week in the region, or they revealed them to the media on Sunday. And as U.S. President Barack Obama continues his Asia tour, not everyone is a fan, particularly the Filipinos, at least as regards the military pact, which is to promote stability in the region. A deal signed in Manila hours before Mr. Obama touched down allows a bigger U.S. military presence in the country. However, Mr. Obama said the deal was not intended to contain China, with whom Manila is embroiled in a bitter territorial row.
The U.S. and the Philippines seal a new 10-year security pact. The agreement is expected to pave the way for a larger U.S. military presence in the island nation as it struggles to raise its defense capabilities amid recent tensions and territorial disputes with China. White House officials told reporters during a briefing that the accord allows for enhanced rotational presence of the U.S. forces in the country and will allow U.S. forces to train and conduct exercises with Philippine forces for maritime security, disaster assistance, and humanitarian aid. But it has angered hundreds of Filipino activists who protested outside the presidential palace gates in Manila, denouncing the visit of U.S. President Barack Obama. The protesters chanted nationalist slogans and burned effigies of Aquino and Obama, showing their dissatisfaction with the pact. Obama says the new defense agreement will only allow American servicemen to rotate and train, and the U.S. does not intend to build new bases or reclaim old ones.
We don't even take a specific position on the disputes between nations. But as a matter of international law and international norms, we don't think that coercion and intimidation is the way to manage these disputes. And for that reason, we're very supportive of President Niño's approach. We're an Asia-Pacific nation, and our goal is not to counter China, our goal is not to contain China. Our goal is to make sure that international rules and norms are respected. And that includes in the area of maritime disputes.
On their part, protesters have strongly opposed the security pact and say it will only heighten tensions in the already wild Asia-Pacific region, which has been embattled in a gridlock over territorial claims with the growing assertiveness of China.
Aquino thinks that this agreement is going to help us against China, but the promises we heard today from the U.S. ambassador are the same promises we've heard during the VFA, during the basis negotiations. It's always the same. They're going to help us, but what help are we actually getting? Nothing substantial.
Manila's acceptance of a beefed-up U.S. military presence would reveal the scale of Philippine anxiety over China amid a sovereignty dispute over territories in the South China Sea. The Philippine Senate voted to evict the U.S. military from their bases back in 1991, ending 94 years of American military presence in the Philippines, and has only gradually allowed the return of U.S. forces for limited operations during the past decade.